The palace stood in the rain, tall, white, with scarlet roofs. "This isn't Lord Fernando, please tell me it's not true," the girl muttered. The doctor, adjusting his glasses, said that he could say with certainty that these were the symptoms. "And suddenly, you're pregnant." It sounded like a blow to the heroine. Caitlin Grint, that's the heroine's name, was horrified. She faced the greatest crisis of her 22 years of life. The main character explained that she had her period, but it was shorter than usual. So it's not that, yes, logically you won't get pregnant from one time. The bleeding was due to the baby implanting in her body. She shuddered when she saw her favorite herring fillet in front of her. For some reason, the girl felt sick. The doctor realized what was going on, closed the dish and insisted that the Count needed to be informed. But Caitlin grabbed his hand and screamed no. Looking up at her, he asked, "Then what are you going to do? Could you please keep this a secret until I figure it out? After all, if their precious youngest daughter, she will find herself pregnant out of wedlock. Then she will definitely be beaten half to death and kicked out of the family." The hero was surprised by this story and jumped up from his seat. He hugged the girl, asked her to calm down, and assured her that the Count would not do that. "It wasn't planned, but since it's Lord Moore, he knows how much you love him. I'm sure everything will be fine. That's the most important thing. That you two are already engaged. Answer Moore, this is my fiancé, whom we are finally engaged to, after 9 years of unrequited love." "That's right. Since we're going to get married anyway, it's like a small incident. But the reason for the emptiness in my head and the desire to cry is that she is in something completely different, far from Answer Moore. After all, he is the child's father. Not Lord Moore, but a completely different person. The incident occurred a month and 1 week ago." The heroine admired Moore's face in the letter. Caitlin was lost in her dreams when suddenly she heard a noise. Something was happening outside the window. "I wonder what is going on there." When the heroine asked her maid, she replied that the young master had become very drunk. And so they send a carriage to take him home. The main character asked in surprise, "Wait, it was a knight's party, right?" The maid already realized that her mistress was up to something. And she was not mistaken, because she was already beaming with anticipation. Before the girl could blink, Caitlin had bolted out of the room. On the way, the heroine pushed her brother with all her strength, and he fell back into the carriage, the door making a characteristic sound. Kate just waved her hand and shouted that she would return later and that Lord Moore would see her out. The heroine jumped out, spread her arms and exclaimed, "Ta-da, surprise!" The men started whispering, "Oh, isn't that Lady Grint? Sit down here, lady." Answer was such a lucky man, they said, but the hero didn't look entirely happy. That evening, the main character drank more than she should have. Her fiancé suggested going home, as it was already very late. The girl pouted and assured him that she wouldn't go home unless he kissed her. He only insisted that she wait until marriage. "You said that we would get married anyway, not a single kiss in 2 years. Honestly, sometimes I doubt your love for me," Kate said, lowering her head, "and I just need to make sure that our love is real." An awkward silence fell between the heroes. He put his hand to his forehead, suppressing his anxiety, and remained silent. Then he covered his face with his hand and sighed heavily. And barely squeezing out the words, he confessed, "Kate, in fact, I love someone else." The heroine froze at this confession, her eyes full of silence. He said hesitantly that the wedding would not be a problem. Kate screamed, "How dare you? Didn't you tell me how much you love me?" But in response, he only said, "Forgive me." "Are you serious? Why did you even propose?" To which he replied, "Well, marriage isn't always about love." "Why didn't you say it right away? Did you really just feel sorry for me? I thought you loved me, not that much of course, but still." The hero grabbed her hand and said, "Let's go home because it's really cold outside." But she just pulled her hand away and screamed, "Let me go. I'll get there myself and don't come near me anymore." She walked away quickly, her lace trembling, her heels ringing characteristically. In the end, Answer Moore didn't stop me on that cold winter night. At that moment, the main character had to admit it. That Answer Moore never loved her. It was the same unrequited love. She should have just gone home that night, no matter what. Suddenly, the heroine was distracted from her thoughts by a guy who shouted what she was thinking so deeply about. It is a fact that pregnant women are more easily frightened due to hormonal changes. This is Alexander Grint, the older brother of the main character. When he asked if his little sister was going to answer, she replied that that was not the issue at all. The girl decided that she should support her brother at least once. He hugged her and whispered, "Our Kate has grown up and came to support her older brother. Her brother is so happy." She felt guilty because she hadn't really come to support her little brother. The carriage moved forward rapidly. The main character said, "Brother Sir Hurt, what kind of person is he?" "You're talking about the captain. Well, he's a good man, but why are you asking?" The heroine answered with a smile, and as a romantic partner too, yes. He shouted, "How do you know him? Why are you suddenly asking?" "Yes, I was wrong and I shouldn't say that again. But I'm not just interested. I'm interested because he is the father of my child." The tall palace rose above the trees, shining under the blue sky. The two swords met in a swift strike, the metal ringing in the air. Brother explained that this was a training ground for the First Order. "There's a spectator area over there, and I'll take you there after I change." A man approached them. He said, "Alexander Grint, today is training day." He suddenly stood up straight and said, "Oh, Commander, I am very glad to see you. We don't have any plans for training yet. I just brought my sister to show her around. Terius Hurt, Supreme Commander of the Imperial Knights of the Spartan Empire." The main character looked at Terius silently, and the hero silently looked at Kate. A long silence hung between them, and his brother remained in the background, perplexed. The man said, "Alexander, go change your clothes. I will take the lady there myself." He replied, "But I can take her there myself." The hero said menacingly, "I said that you need to change your clothes first." And when the brother tried to prove something, the commander briefly replied, "This is an order, and he cannot refuse since this is the commander's order." Terius said with a smile, "It's been so long since we saw each other, Miss Grint." The girl awkwardly adjusted a strand of hair and said, "Yes, that's right. I need to tell you something, can we talk?" A month ago, the heroine could barely move down the street. Of course, because she was drunk, suddenly the question was heard, "Where are you going?" The one who stopped the main character that night. It was this very same Commander Hurt. It was not Answer Moore, her fiancé, but Terius Hurt, a complete stranger to her. When he asked about her fiancé, she stated that they no longer had any kind of relationship whatsoever. And then the girl approached the man and said tenderly, "Hurt, would you like to sleep with me?" she asked. Now, the main character understands that she was drunk, but does not understand how she could say such a thing. "I even kissed him, although this didn't happen with Answer Moore." The hand lay on the surface, fingers slightly spread and tense. She hugged him, sitting on the bed. The couple merged in a long kiss. Suddenly he pulled away a little, his gaze sliding over her eyes. Terius calmly asked, "You won't regret it, because if you don't want to, it's better to say so." "I don't want to do something you might regret," the heroine asked, upset. "You don't want to sleep with me." He, taking off his shirt, replied, "No, I'm just asking your opinion. I definitely won't regret it," the man continued. The girl closed her eyes and remembered. It was nice. "But I never thought that it would get so complicated just because of one night. I heard a voice. I was late. I thought we wouldn't see each other today." The main character looked in surprise. "Oh, Hurt is here. And what is this? What is this interesting shape on a man? And what a gift he brought, saying that he bought it with the thought that it would suit her perfectly. I planned to give it to you earlier, but you kept avoiding me. There was only one thing on my mind. I didn't think about getting pregnant. Wow, this is the latest winter collection from Andre, the most famous designer in the capital of henna. I heard that this is very difficult to obtain," thought the heroine, then thanked the man. "If he really likes me, then everything will be much easier." "I have some questions for you," Kate said. "I wonder when you plan to get married." Terius was taken aback and then asked why you suddenly wanted to know about it so urgently. She explained, "Well, you're at that age when it's time to get married. Maybe you haven't met anyone you like or you're so busy with work," and the man suddenly interrupted her. "I'm not dating for marriage, so I don't put pressure on others." "I have the same opinion as you, lady. I'm against marriage." Kate suddenly froze in surprise. And she asked when I said that. "Wait, now the memories have come to her. Didn't you meet with Sir Moore with thoughts of marriage?" the hero asks her. She replied, I am against marriage. I am not against having fun. But being tied up is the last thing I want. And getting married at that age is pointless. She lay next to me and said, I am for calm, non-committal relationships, like the one we have today. The girl raised her finger and said, I absolutely, categorically do not cling to some more. Now I understand. She sat at the table, clasped her fingers, and suddenly realized that I really was talking nonsense. And he said, let's date. You won't find a guy as cool and non-committal as me. I'm not going to be a burden to the ladies like Answer Moore. The girl thought and felt today's realization there is no need to lie. The house stood under a clear sky, and quiet sounds could be heard from the window. The heroine covered her mouth with her hand and whispered, I just can't eat this, take it away. The maid said, this is the 4th day that you have refused to eat. And she added, it is unfair that you suffer alone, my lady. The girl lay silently, her gaze tired and quiet. Maybe you should meet with Lord Hurt again. Memories flashed before my eyes. But Lord Hurt, don't you need an heir to continue the Hurt line? I don't need it. I'm not even from an old noble family, so what difference does it make? Kate cried. Her heart sank. He said that he didn't need either marriage or a child. An unmarried noblewoman is pregnant. I will definitely be condemned, especially if I am the youngest daughter of a respected family. It was only a matter of time before the entire empire turned this into gossip. The main character looked confused. Her hair fell on her shoulders. Amy, what should I do with my life? The maid squeezed the cloth and said, you should be careful. But the heroine exclaimed, I was a little drunk but still conscious. The girl clutched her head in her hands, anxiety darting in her eyes. Then the maid said that apart from regularly drinking Pelgrim's tea, there is no 100% contraception. A voice was heard outside the door. My lady, Lord Moore has come to see you. The girls had to take a break from their argument about contraception methods. I also heard that when I told him about your condition, he said that he would return later. What should I tell him? Yes, I'm definitely crazy, and why is he even here? I should kick him out, but here I am, putting on makeup to meet a guy who lied to me. When the man asked if she was okay, the girl thought, damn you, Answer Moore, you have no idea how I feel. The girl turned away. Her voice became even and detached. This doesn't concern you. The hero said, what are you talking about, Kate? And then fell silent for a moment. I'm really sorry about that day, he said. I really have no excuses. The heroine turned to him and asked, do you really understand that you were wrong? But he replied calmly, Kate, I promise this won't be a problem for our wedding, I swear. The voice trembled with pain. Seriously, what nonsense, you love another, but you want to marry me. Ansir made excuses. No, it's just that I love her. There won't be any problems after the wedding. The girl looked at her with distrust. Her voice became quieter. You haven't even met her. He stood in a bright room. His eyes were calm, but there was an internal struggle in his voice. He said the right thing, and I will try. It's hard for me because you're still like a little sister to me, but if I try, I think everything will work out. The voice was soft and tense. Kate, won't you give me another chance? She thought, I hate that this really tempts me. Seriously, but still. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hair falling over her shoulders. He dropped to one knee in front of her. His voice was quiet and decisive. We have to call off the wedding. Answer froze in place. His eyes widened in surprise. His voice trembled. What do you mean? He grabbed her hand abruptly, his fingers trembling with tension, his voice soft and repentant. Kate, I was wrong. I'm sorry. If the wedding falls through, everything is lost. The thought is unbearable. He squeezed her hand and whispered, who else should I marry if not you? Who would have thought Ansel Moore is begging me? She quietly calmed down, let go. He came closer. His breath touched his lips. I will try. The girl froze. Her breath caught. What the hell? Kate pushed him away and screamed, what are you doing? Exactly. You wanted confidence. She was shaking. Tears were flowing. Isn't that what you wanted? My voice broke. I asked for love, not violence. She, tiredly, I'll forget this. Just go away. The man stood for a moment and then calmly replied, okay. The fingers tightened on the handle. The voice sounded sharp. Straighten up. Yes, sir. The protagonist screamed again, his chest heaving with tension. The sword slid through the air. The steps sounded dull. The observer froze. The wind blew through the leaves. My shoulders were shaking. Tears were falling. I screwed up. The voice remained inside. The man asked who told him to relax his stance. The fighter replied, "I just started over. Grint made a mistake." Then the commander asked who was wrong. Alexander Grint. He froze. He stepped forward, his gaze hardening, and shouted, "Grint wasn't wrong, that's right." He walked along the line, swords flashing in the sun. Besides, pointing out mistakes is my job. Then the main character turned to Alexander. "Let's go talk alone just for a minute. Number 1 is the man you want as a husband, the man you want as a son-in-law, the man you want as an acquaintance." He became a commander in the Radish Empire, but rumors followed him. The team said, "The day has come, Alexander. Good luck, fight." The hero could not do otherwise and went forward. Terrius Hurt was in love with me. He turned pale, his gaze darted. "Isn't this the first time?" He froze, the light trembled, he was going to confess. The man who avoided women is now calling me. My thoughts were racing, there was no other explanation. If I refuse, my career as a knight will end forever. The guy shouted, "Captain!" His voice trembled. "My sister is sick, you can leave early." He frowned, his eye flashed, the tension broke through. The voice became quieter, the count was busy, it was awkward to leave her alone. The captain answered calmly, "You can't leave a sick person, Grint, go home." "I'll go," said the brother. The hero replied, "After training, I'll visit the estate." He flinched, his voice was sharp. "Why are you surprised? It's been a month since my promotion, it's embarrassing that I didn't congratulate you." The captain continued, "He must thank the count for allowing his son to become a warrior. Wait, he's seriously going straight to his parents, he wants to seal the deal." The girl held a brush, her gaze was tense, her voice was quiet. "You need to go to Catherine." She continued, "They could go outside the capital." The hand moved slowly, the brush slid, the heroine asked, "Why don't you like Catherine?" My fingers clenched. "It's not that I don't like her, it's just that I feel awkward with her. I don't understand her." Kate's gaze slid, her voice was thoughtful. "We haven't seen her for a long time." The girl adjusted her bandage, her gaze lingered. "Aren't you happy?" Footsteps echoed, the windows shook, someone was approaching, the air became quieter. The heroine leaned over, her gaze becoming colder. The maid shuddered, her hand jerked to her face, her eyes widened. Ouch! The decorations shook. "What's wrong with you, hey?" The girl took an awkward step, her shoulder hitting the man. The guy stood motionless, his gaze sliding downwards. Kate pulled back, her eyes wide, her mouth hanging open, her breath catching in her throat. A scream rang out over the roof, and birds took flight from the branches. She sobbed. Tears glistened on her cheeks. She almost lost the child. The man leaned closer, his eyes narrowed. "You're pregnant." The girl was awkwardly silent. The fist clenched, the hand trembled. "Ba pregnant, you ask?" "How rude to ask a lady such a question," exclaimed the main character, waving her fist. And she hit him right in the heart with her fist. The guy didn't move. The air between them trembled. They froze in these poses, and the maid covered her mouth with her hands. The heroine thought, no matter how confused you are. Was it really worth hitting a stranger in the chest for no reason? And with tears in my mind, I said, "It's time for me to die, Caitlin Grint." But the man gently grabbed her fist, his fingers closed around her wrist, and the heroine shuddered. The hands clasped, the fingers trembled, the touch became quiet. Kate froze, her head filled with a million questions. The guy stood quietly, his eyes warmed, his cheeks turned pink, his breathing became uneven. In the background, the maid gasped, "Oh my God." He walked next to her, his hand slid along her elbow. Did my brother really believe without suspicion? "You're not going to spread rumors, are you?" The heroine narrowed her eyes, deciding to become my enemy. Kate thought he was probably so insistent to continue this damn partnership. Was it worth clinging so obsessively to one night of fun? My heart sank. They walked along the carpet. The heroine slowed down. Lord Hurt. The fact that Lord Hurt came to me today, should this be considered a desire to maintain our cold relations? He answered rather awkwardly. His shoulders twitched slightly, just like that. His gaze slid to the side. "Then let's meet more often." said the main character, thinking that the child should have a father. My imagination was fired. Lord Hurt said he was against the marriage. But if our cold relationship continues, then our hands will remain close. And with a smile, she continued, you might want to get married or something like that. Hey, being against marriage, you don't like to hear about the wedding, yes, but what can I do? Imagine a cute newborn baby, fingers raised, eyes shining, chubby cheeks and pouty lips. Their arms and legs are the size of Lord Hurt's thumb. You won't get tired of looking at them all day. Surely even Lord Hurt will want to have a child later. But the man just sat there silently. Rubbing his neck, he said marriage and children. All this is not necessary. Being with you is enough. The girl froze, thinking, wow, what a bastard. Lightning pierced her chest. And in general, to be honest, I only need your body, that's what it is. Stop talking about boring things. It only makes you depressed. Then he turned sideways. By the way, are you going to continue meeting with Lord Moore after that day? The heroine thought, I don't know. I don't think there will be reasons to see each other. The man asked if Lord was her type. She replied, well, answer is handsome. When he asked why, the girl replied, I would have to tell you every little thing if it weren't for the child, really. And crossing her arms, she said, when I was 12, I almost got into big trouble. During the Second Spartan War, there was an incident with the escape of prisoners. Yes, Lord Hurt must know, you took part in that war, right? Then I was accidentally kidnapped by those prisoners. A young girl in expensive clothes was a good target for raising funds for an escape. It was the basement of a tavern. They kept me there for about a week. It seems they considered me too high-born a noblewoman to raise a hand against me. They were discussing right in front of me whether to kill me or what to do. Luckily, somehow 2 or 3 royal knights came to take away the kingdom's prisoners, and I was lucky to be saved then. He hugged me tightly and told me that everything would be okay. I cried so hard that my eyes were swollen, and I was not myself. I didn't even have time to really get a good look at the knight's face, Kate said sadly. But I remember one thing. A huge sword pierced his right shoulder. Taking a deep breath, the girl continued, he must have been injured while fighting and holding me. He turned sharply and said it was. But the heroine did not let him finish and exclaimed with admiration, yes, it turned out that it was Answer. The main character asked ironically if it was Answer Moore, but the girl turned to him questioningly. And then he asked sternly, are you sure of your memory, young lady? If the wound was that serious, there should be a scar, right? Answer Moore has a scar on his right shoulder. The girl said thoughtfully, well, probably yes. And she threw up her hands. I've never seen Oppa Answer naked, so I don't know. So you saw me naked right away, he grinned. Kate screamed, and if anyone hears this, it's true. And while she was hitting him on the chest, the man gently intercepted her fist. Did I really eat something wrong? What's wrong with me? The heroine wondered. With a blush on her face, she asked, why do you touch me all the time? The captain answered, because I want to. And touching her fingers, he declared that he wanted to touch her. Kissing her hand, just looking at you, I get turned on. The girl's whole face turned red, and she mentally exclaimed, what is this guy even saying? I often dream about that man who strokes my head and says, everything is fine, don't be afraid. I will take you home safely. Close your eyes tightly and count to 100. The girl tearfully said, please don't die. Stroking the girl on the head, he said, everything is fine, I won't die. And she said, I will marry you in the future because I have nothing else to give you. Wait, 12-year-old Caitlin Grint, full of vanity and fully aware of her noble origins. She said something to express her gratitude and was pleased. It was all because of my father. He would say such nonsense at every opportunity, so of course as a child I thought that whoever marries me is super lucky. I don't remember the knight's face clearly, but for some reason I remember his expression vividly. He smiled and said he would wait. Yes, I said that I would wait as well. Wow, Answer Moore, what a hero you are, the heroine exclaimed mentally. The heroine who was next to Kate smiled, and she asked sweetly, did you dream about your brother Answer? Ah, Kate, your face is terrible. Even if you dreamed about brother Unser, why do you look like this? The main character exclaimed, it hurts. Then she lay her head on her friend's lap and sighed quietly. Just like that, all the stress melted away. Catherine Bennington, the daughter of our Earl's chief maid, Lady Merrill, was like part of the family, growing up together from childhood. When Lady Merrill arrived at the Earl's estate, she was already in the late stages of pregnancy. And the father, taking pity on the woman who would have to raise the child alone, quietly gave her a place and a small house in the capital. So she has been by my side since birth, my friend for more than 20 years. My refuge, my beloved friend Catherine. Kate, looking at her friend, said, "Hey, Catherine." And then she asked if there was ever a moment when you wanted to see your father. "I don't even know what my father looks like, so I guess I never wanted to see him." Kate asked. "And you don't even miss me," the girl continued. "I don't miss you, but I hate him," my friend said. And gritting her teeth, she said, "If I could, I would want to take revenge on him." The main character looked at the girl questioningly, and she just stroked Kate's hair and said, "I saw how hard it was for my mother. And my father knows about me, about how my mother raised me alone through all these difficulties. He knows all this." "You said you don't know who your father is," Catherine replied. "I don't know, but that doesn't mean my mother doesn't know." And she hissed, "I will never forgive that person who abandoned us." The heroine grinned. For the first time I saw Catherine so angry. She said, "Don't be angry, you still have me." And then the heroine asked, "But really, why did you suddenly ask?" Kate hesitated and eventually answered untruthfully, "Just, I was curious." The friend didn't go into details, took the cookies and changed the subject. "Oh, by the way, how are things with Oppa Answer lately?" And passing the cookie, she said, "I was dying of curiosity, tell me everything. Honestly, I'm so tired of this, and here we go again with another round of talk about Answer More. I don't want to put the blame on him, but if you look at it, it all started with Answer More." The main character calmly replied, "You know, I don't want to marry Oppa Answer." The friend froze in amazement and barely said what. She continued with confusion in her eyes, "But why? You said that you won't marry Brother Answer, but why?" She answered coldly, "Just like that, why did you suddenly meet someone else you like?" Kate nibbled on her cookie and said, No, Brother Unser doesn't love me." She exclaimed, "No, Kate, you know Brother Unser's character, he is shy and wants to keep his distance. But the heroine assured me that he has no feelings for me, he has another woman whom he likes." "I won't love him anymore either," Catherine asked with anger in her eyes. "Did he say that?" The heroine was surprised. It was the first time I saw Catherine with such a scary face. "He told me to continue preparing for the wedding as planned, but I didn't pressure him about dating before that." "Because he has someone else he likes," Kate exclaimed sadly. She sobbed and realized, thinking about it again, "I'm really angry." And taking a new cookie, she continued, "I'm fine, the world is full of men." The friend grabbed the heroine by the shoulder. "I wish you wouldn't make such a hasty decision. How long have you loved Brother Answer? Is it really so easy to give up these feelings? Men's hearts are fickle. The only woman who suits Brother Answer is you. Hold on to your sanity." And that day, you still remember, yes, if it weren't for Brother Answer, what would have happened to you? My friend continued, "Enough about that, I just want to tell you to think about it some more. I'll definitely scold Brother Answer later, so don't worry too much, okay?" But Kate understood that it could be because of another man's child who was now inside me. It seems that the relationship with Brother Answer, which I built over 10 years, is over. I haven't given birth yet, so I don't know, but the baby will probably look like Terrius Hurt. Like that annoying guy, he's been tormenting me ever since he was in my womb. Every time I ate, everything came back out, and within a couple of days I had lost all my weight. I even had constipation, and it was difficult to go to the toilet. I had no strength, I constantly wanted to sleep, so I lay in bed almost the whole day. I wish I could just die, Kate thought. She wondered how much longer she would have to live like this. The doctor calmly replied that she would have to suffer for another month or so, and this answer finished off the heroine. She screamed, "I barely survived a week feeling like I was dying. How can you say that?" The maid asked, "Miss, is it time to start getting ready? If you are too ill today, tell them that you will not be there. After all, today is the regular meeting of the First Royal Knightly Order, and it is being held in our residence, this time because the young master is celebrating his promotion." Holding her head, she said, "No, I have to be present. If I miss the home event, they will definitely start asking a lot of questions." The girl asked why Emmy was so excited. She grinned. "Of course I should be excited. Lord Hurt is coming today." And hugging the comb, she continued, "Fernando, you should have seen this too. A few days ago, Lord Hurt came to our residence, and wow, you should have seen the way our miss looked at him." Honey was flowing from her eyes. "This was the first time I actually saw Lord Hurt. I heard he looked like some kind of weird Banite, but no, not at all. He is very masculine and looks very fresh. Honestly, Lord Moore is so handsome it's a bit much. How can I say? He looks like he couldn't cope at night." The main character screamed, "What is this?" But she never runs out of words. The doctor said hesitantly, "By the way, miss, when do you plan to tell the Count? I saw him earlier in the waiting room and he asked about your health. I had to cover for you." After a brief silence, Kate said, "You said that I have time until the child reaches full term. After that, you could say." The maid replied, "No, this is not something that can be hidden for long, miss. You must tell Lord Hurt first, not the master." The doctor exclaimed, "Ah, Amy, what do you mean you didn't tell Lord Hurt the truth, did you?" The girl said, "It's not that I didn't tell him, I just couldn't, but don't worry, I'll tell him. First, I need to naturally convince Lord Terrius Hurt of the importance of family and the need for children. I'm already stressed out because of the baby inside me, and now I have to think about this too." Emmy assured with a smile, "You're just afraid to say it, miss. Once you say it, it won't be a big problem." And she grinned. "Today you will wear the brooch that Lord Hurt gave you, miss." The main character thought you were so calm. Some people sigh so hard that they are afraid that the earth will swallow them up. Footsteps echoed across the patterned floor in the night. Against the silence of the night, a profile with golden hair and a patterned collar flashed. In a white lace dress, raising his hand to his forehead through the shimmering figures, whispering, "Brother." The man leaned forward slightly, and the gold embroidery on his collar sparkled in the semi-darkness. He sank to his knees under the blue light of the window. Smiling, she said, "Kate came yesterday. She said that she will not marry you." The hero was clearly frightened. A gleam froze in his wide eye, and a drop of sweat slid down his cheek. He muttered, Catherine, don't worry. I'll talk to her again, so don't worry." These words came from her lips for the first time. "You know how I feel after so many years spent for the sake of her misfortune." Under the starry sky, he whispered, "Catherine," and his gaze trembled with uncertainty. She folded her arms and said, "Listen carefully. There is no second chance for me. The man I can love is Caitlin Grintzman." In the dim light of the room, their hair merged into gold, and they kissed tenderly. "I hope you don't ask for more understanding, my love." A blush appeared on his cheeks, and he said, "Even at moments like these, you are so beautiful that I go blind." The main character thought, "I still don't understand why they decided to hold the regular meeting of the knights here. But what is even more important, why is a chamber ensemble playing here? The kind you'd expect to hear at a tea party, not among knights. If Mum were alive, everything would be different, and this crazy seating arrangement. Father said I knew Alexander would become a knight." The captain added, "I thought he was talented. Kate thought you were playing along with your father, trying to impress him. The man said that my son takes after me. It's better for Alex to be embarrassed, but not me." And suddenly he said, "We can't forget about the princess. I wanted a daughter. When she was born, I was in seventh heaven. She looked and said, 'Dad, this is indescribable. Why tell this in front of someone who hates marriage?' The captain said Kate was charming. The father replied, 'She was sweet. Fair skin, big eyes, look.' The hero said, 'She is beautiful. I have never seen anyone more beautiful.' Kate thought you were kidding. 'I can't give her away. I want her to live with me, but she's into Answer. He only talks about the sensitive. That's on purpose.' Kate squeezed the glass. My father said, 'Answer is like a son to me.'" The captain smiled. "You say they are in a relationship? I didn't know." He chuckled. "I thought she was with someone else." The heroine wondered what he was waiting for. "He wants me to say it was him. Answer said we are dating seriously, with thoughts of marriage." He said, "That's how." "They fought with their eyes," Moore added. "That's exactly it." The heroine laughed. "Answer, you're right. You're still talking about your childhood. Everyone was surprised." Awkward change of topic, the fruit is fresh, try it. She was surprised, but it was delicious. I couldn't eat because of nausea, but the orange went down well. Father noticed that she usually doesn't eat sour things, but today she does. The man moved the plate. You have a healthy appetite, it's good to see. Beautiful brooch, I knew it would fit. What's going on? Everyone noticed the tension. There's no way to hide it now. Let them think what they want. The heroine said, thank you, I will wear it. Maybe it's for the best. You need to break off the relationship and tell her about the pregnancy. They served her a plate of herring, miss. The smell pierced the girl. She held back the urge to vomit, thinking, not now, baby. Kate smiled, I'm fine. She jumped up, her hair flew up, the furniture shook. She ran away, her dress fluttering, the door swung open. The hero said, I'm worried, maybe I should check. Father said, Unser, check on Kate. This upset him and he stood silently. I heard you were okay, it hurt. She lay down and replied, I'm okay now. Ansa said, Kate, don't be angry, even jokingly it hurts. She said, you're talking about us, this is not a joke. I closed my eyes, sorry, I don't want to discuss it. Even if you broke up, I will still say no. He asked why you were stubborn. Kate jumped up. It's harder for you than for me, I've been running after you for 10 years. Ansir promised to become better, she said nothing would change. He took her hand, say, I will do everything. I haven't seen it before, but his eyes are empty. You should have said that sooner, Kate said, removing her hand. I tried to please, it would have been easy. Standing up, she said, I'm sorry, I'm not a backup option. And heading towards the exit, she shouted, get out. He grabbed her. The heroine tried to break free. He was stronger, she said, let go, it hurts. She remembered Hurt grabbing her, his hand strong but gentle. Why does this hand feel painful? 10 years you think everything can be erased, she said. I'll try. I don't understand. He said he has another and I just move away. Why is he clinging? The girl said, I still care, but I don't want to change my mind. So date her, marry her, what's the problem? Unser hugged her, Kate asked. Stop, he said. No. He grabbed her by the chin. Are you crazy? I heard a voice outside the door. Lord Moore, you are inside. The heroine thought, I'm saved, Hurt, and ran towards him. The hero stopped her and closed her mouth. He held her. She wondered what was happening. An evil look. I'm scared who he is. Is this really that kind oppa? The captain asked, Lady Grint, Kate mentally screamed, I'm here, come in. He fell silent at the door. Footsteps were heard. Answer let go of his hand. The heroine tried to catch her breath, tears flowing. I misheard, sorry. Kate sobbed and said, yes, you. Trying to break free again, she screamed, you bastard, and the captain burst into the room. The lady muttered, hurt, sir, hurt. There was anger in the man's eyes. Footsteps echoed throughout the room. Taking out his sword, he said, according to the code of chivalry, anyone who violates this is subject to execution. The code is ideals and rules. The girl screamed, please, we were just arguing, it's not worth going to extremes. He doesn't understand what to do. I can't let Answer be killed, she thought, tears streaming down her face. The look became softer. He exhaled. Hiding his sword, the man said, I saw you break the code, don't deny it. The main character said, I declare deforge. Right now, everything is frozen. Deforge is a form of duel when the code is broken. The law requires execution, but the commander can give a chance. In a duel, the elder allows the younger to gain the upper hand. This is forgiveness and tradition. Father asked Kate what was going on, what Unser had done. He continued, I was shocked when Hurt offered to be a witness. You really don't know, she said. I don't know. And mentally, I don't know where to start if I tell the truth. They can kill Answer. The nature of the violation will remain a mystery. I think that's okay. The main character whispered, brother, in this duel the older one always lets the younger one win, right? But does it ever happen that they don't? The brother thought, but this almost never happens. The commander's defeat in Deforge is a sign of forgiveness. So if the disgraced knight cannot win even then, it is a complete humiliation. This means that they should not be publicly executed due to political pressure, but they should not be recognized as knights either. What happens to a knight who loses a Deforge? The sister asked. The guy answered thoughtfully, there are few such cases but those who lost. And he said calmly, They all committed suicide out of shame, each of them probably. Suicide was their only way out. They could not bear the shame of life. Even if they hadn't committed suicide and were just pretending, the pressure from the knights would have been unbearable. I doubt the captain expected to win, unless he planned to kill his subordinate without getting his hands dirty. The girl realized mentally, this is it. This is exactly what Hurt wanted. A blonde man with a blue eye and a sword, an intense look at the moment of the fight. Now, looking at this, I even feel sorry for Answer's opponent. Imperial Spartan knights fight by rank based on skill. If Terrius Hurt doesn't give in, Answer Moore will lose. Everyone around was shocked, not just the main character. Everyone around started whispering, "What's going on? This doesn't make sense. He really did win the fight." The captain leaned towards the hero, who accepted defeat. And then he whispered something quietly to him. As the man walked away, Kate thought only about what would happen to her brother Unser. She was really worried. And of course, what happened yesterday has already spread throughout the capital. The man reported that they said Sir Moore had locked himself in his estate, and the captain calmly replied that he didn't even have the courage to die. The butler asked if you felt any sympathy for a subordinate who could commit suicide at any moment. The main character asked, "Would you feel it?" The man exhaled. "I can guess why. Even without you saying anything, it's because of that young lady from the Grint family, right?" Terrius was writing something and talking at the same time. Honestly, I wanted to finish him off right there, but I couldn't because Kate stopped me. He squeezed the pen with all his strength and said, "If you were there, you would have done the same, you damn bastard. Even cutting his throat wouldn't have been enough." Calmly taking out his pen, the butler continued, "I advise you to keep this side of your nature away from the young lady. She is already wary of your sharp features. If she finds out that your character is just as perverted, she will never approach you." Then the main character said, "Tell the Grint family's personal doctor that I want to see him." The main character told her family, then Oppa Answer Varug, and then Sir Hurt appeared. Clutching the fabric of her dress, she explained why the duel had happened that day. The father and brother froze in amazement, and then the man shouted, "Wait, Alex, why didn't Sir Hurt execute him on the spot? His actions towards the lady after he was knighted, that's not something a deforge can just erase, right?" The lady said it wasn't his fault, father. Sir Hurt was about to carry out the execution. It was I who stopped him. The father turned sharply to his daughter, as if he wanted to say something. But at the last moment he pursed his lips. He lowered his gaze to the floor, then stood up and walked away. And his daughter, who had been watching him all this time, was unable to utter a word. When her brother approached her, she asked upsetly, "Daddy was angry, right?" The guy held out his hands and said, "Kate, come here." The main character looked up at him, her eyes full of tears. And then she fell quickly into his arms, repeating, "Brother." He hugged his little sister tightly while she cried bitterly. My brother said, "Don't take it to heart. He's not angry, he's just disappointed, and probably wants to break Answer's arms and legs more than anyone else." And stroking his sister, he added, "I don't know why you suddenly said that you don't want to get married anymore, but honestly, I sighed with relief." After his sister asked why, the guy answered, "Because I know that Answer doesn't love you. I want you to meet someone who will love and appreciate you as much as your father and I do. No, even more. It's better to meet someone who will make you truly happy. And I don't know whether you forgave Answer or not, but I don't think I could ask us to change the outcome of the deforge or help him now. Honestly, as your older brother, I have no desire to help him, but my sister begged me, please." Looking down, I added, whether I had forgiven him or not, the very thought that someone would die because of me was unbearable. And if it was Oppa Answer, it was even worse. I understand, but after what he did to you, we can't just let it go unpunished. If we do that, our whole family will become a laughingstock. The brother put his hand on his sister's head and said, "Well, in the end it's father's decision, but I think he's already made up his mind." And as he left, he added, "You must be exhausted too. Don't worry too much, okay? Good night." Hurt Manor, a multi-story building with arched windows and a blue-roofed facade, surrounded by lanterns and flowers. "A doctor came into the room," the man said. "Sir Fernando, glad to see you." Sitting on the chair, the main character thoughtfully asked, I heard you are the personal doctor of the Grint family, right? The hero asked gloomily. I heard you're not well. What's the problem? Holding his head, Terrius replied, I have a bit of a headache. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Anyway, Sir Fernando, I heard Lady Grint hasn't been feeling well lately. Can you tell me what's wrong with her? The man wondered, my lady, if it was time to tell him the truth. But I remembered no, Sir Hurt is against marriage and children. Even if I tell the truth, what if he gets angry and yells? Wouldn't it be better to just keep quiet and raise the child alone? The doctor was mentally angry. These were the true words of a 22-year-old girl who had her whole life ahead of her. The hero continued, a doctor can't just divulge information about a patient unless you're Lady Grint's husband or something. It's incredible. He doesn't want marriage, but he still wants to have fun, the doctor thought. Terrius asked what we have. 6 weeks? No, maybe 7. The man was taken aback and then said, I understand. Yes, that's right. Wait, what? The lady told him, opening her eye. The doctor said, I understand your position, Sir Hurt, but the fact is that the child is already on the way, and I can't just brush it off and say I don't want marriage. The main character beamed, wait a second, you're saying there really is a child? The doctor was struck by lightning, you were just checking me out. The young master's mother could not stand sour things, to the point that I didn't even want to touch ripe oranges. But when she was pregnant with the young gentleman, she only wanted oranges. Pregnant women often want sour things. Isn't that surprising? Morning sickness can be especially severe. The young gentleman's mother couldn't eat her favorite food and lost a lot of weight because of it. The nanny's words spoken that day suddenly flashed through my head like lightning. After all, everything came together amazingly. Caitlin Grint loves pickled herring fillets and is said to dislike sour foods. This can't be, he thought. She's pregnant. The doctor froze in shock. And then he slammed his palm on the table. If a man and a woman have intercourse, pregnancy is always possible, isn't it? It's just that I was completely sober that day, and I thought I had taken all the precautions I couldn't even imagine. Come on, man, you think interrupted intercourse is reliable contraception? Suddenly the man shouted, Sir Fernando! She is carrying my child, of course I will take responsibility. What kind of scoundrel would just leave? I'm not like that. I'm Grint Estate, but at least finish your tea before leaving. Thank you for taking such good care of Kate, he said before leaving. And he ran away. Sir wondered in surprise what was wrong with him. Rapid footsteps were heard. Seriously, no wonder she talked about marriage. That question when you're thinking about getting married. Let's meet more often from now on. Imagine a cute baby. I thought she was just testing me and said something I didn't mean. Just being with her is already happiness for me. And I didn't even think about her questions. Damn, how would I have known if you hadn't told me? How many days she suffered alone, just because of this. The maids asked if it was the young master. But why was he smiling? The main character held her stomach and asked what I should do now. No, it's definitely not the child's fault, but only mine. But anyway, it's all because of that bastard answer. But the thought of him committing suicide makes my head spin. Living with a feeling of guilt is a punishment only for me, not for him. I thought Sir Hurt was just trying to quietly hush it up. But a duel on an estate, and not in a quiet field, is already quite a big scandal. The main character screamed. It was all because of the pickled herring. Baby, listen up. I'm blaming the herring, but I'm really talking about you. At that moment, a tray of food fell behind the girl. The main character turned around in surprise. She saw her older brother, who froze from the words he had just spoken. He covered his mouth with his hand and exclaimed, Just don't tell me! What Alex said could be heard among the golden chandeliers. The father said with alarm, It's true, you have a child. The daughter looked away and made an innocent expression on her face. The man began to faint, saying, Oh no! He exhaled, Contact Moore's house. If this bastard dies, there will be a real mess. I can't believe you ran straight to your dad, so you have to trust someone in this world. The daughter said, Dad, actually. The baby's father was not answer at all, she said. The father and son opened their mouths and asked in shock, Wait, what? And then a cry was heard throughout the entire estate that, Then who the hell was the father shouting? Don't tell me you're dating Sir Hurt. She quickly stopped her father, assuring him that it was not Terrius. I still haven't spoken to him. What if Dad makes a scene by breaking into his house? First, I need to calm my dad and brother down and build the tower. And suddenly it was heard that Lord Hurt had arrived at the estate, and the tower fell. She tearfully wondered why everything was always so inopportune. Why did the Lord arrive unannounced? Don't take him to the living room, bring him here. The man suddenly dropped to one knee, and he said, Sir Grint, I have come to formally ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. The brother and father were very surprised. Suddenly Alexander asked the girl, Why are you surprised? Tereus thought I hadn't planned to go to the Count from the start. Lady Catelyn is with Earl Grint. It so happens that the Earl was also looking for you, Sir Hurt. I will take you to him. And so the meeting of the four began. Father sternly asked what business brought you here. The captain said, I have something to tell you, Count. If this is about more, then I'm not interested, the man said. The Lord wondered if I told him about the pregnancy, his father would get angry. If I say that in such a situation, I came to ask permission to court her. He may misunderstand the results with more, deciding that this was a way to eliminate the rival. And so he got down on one knee, and he asked for his daughter's hand. And now the two of them were sitting together, their heads bowed. You started dating Unser and then, you started dating Sir Hurt at the same time, she exclaimed. It cannot be said that I had a romantic relationship with Answer. So you didn't even meet my daughter, you just decided to have some fun with her, right? The man began to explain, Count, everything is not so. But I never took my relationship with Lady Grint lightly. What a smooth liar he is, the girl thought. I guarantee that I will take care of your daughter. On what basis should I trust you? The father shouted. The protagonist knelt down and said that he would take all the blows. The hero straightened his shoulder and said, You think I'm weak because I'm old? But at that moment, Kate reached out and shouted, Dad, stop it. What did he do wrong? He will take responsibility. The father pointed his finger at his daughter. You. He sat down on the sofa and said, Raising children, it's all in vain. Enough. Just get ready for the wedding before your belly becomes visible. The question was asked how long you planned to hide it. She apologized for not telling me earlier. Just think how much stress this has caused me in the last few days. For a while I thought I was going to die. The man exhaled, and then he said that they could communicate more informally. The girl exhaled and said that she would do it gradually. And from today on, I will call you Kate, the hero said. Terry, it sounds like a dog's name. The girl grinned. Oh, you like Terry, yeah. The man asked what kind of sheets these were. She replied that she would make points for a happy family life. She started writing the first point. Tereus Hurt and Caitlin Grint. I will respect each other's freedom and meet other people. The protagonist fell silent for a moment, and then he snatched out a piece of paper, and he demonstratively tore it apart. Well, it looks like a happy family life won't be necessary. The man replied that he didn't need it, and he said that it would be better for the girl not to move at all. They started having family disputes, so the girl decided to take a walk. I was so busy that I forgot to visit Catherine's house. I need to tell her about the wedding and spend the night at her place. But suddenly she stopped. Why is Answer Moore here, what? And he stands in front of Catherine's house. The Knights of the Empire choose death over the loss of honor. Did Oppa Answer really make this decision? So he's here to say goodbye to Catherine. Kate covered her mouth with her hand because this simply couldn't be happening. What will happen if Lord Moore dies? After all, he is my savior. This thought makes me so scared and sad. The main character remembered how grateful Catherine was to the Count. So you too, my friend, should be grateful to the Lord. You think so too, my dear Kate. Oppa Answer saved my life. But will I really be the one who leads him to death? Catherine's words are spinning in my head. Kate, you love Brother Unser. Is it really so easy to push him away? Maybe I will be abandoned just as easily, she said. Kate knew she had to stop the hero if he decided to act like a knight. Only she could stop the hero, and she knew it from the very beginning. Taking a step forward, the heroine screamed, Wait, Oppa Answer! Suddenly, their childhood friend appeared in front of him. Standing against the wall, the girl did not understand what was happening. And at that very moment, my friend extended her hand, and she grabbed Answer, merging with him in a passionate kiss. The main character's eyes widened to the limit. How can she believe what she saw, that her childhood friends were dating in secret from her? Kate covered her mouth with both hands, holding back a scream. The only question that was running through my head was what it was. Clutching the pillow in her hands, the lady sobbed. The maid told the heroine to stop crying, pull herself together and eat. But the girl screamed. If the maid had been in her place, she would have understood. The heroine exhaled and whispered that something was clearly wrong with this Catherine. All the time, Oppa answer, as if it was Catherine who saved the main character and not him. It was 10 years ago, but the heroine called the hero a savior at every meeting, and it already resembled brainwashing. The heroine thought that she cared for Lord Moore out of guilt. Clenching her fist, the girl screamed. As it turned out, she was simply praising her man. The lady continued, sobbing, "They haven't been dating for that long, have they?" And I heard heated responses from the maid. Where did such confidence come from? Who knows when these two started spinning around? But Kate had only one thought flashing through her mind. The girl the hero loves is Catherine. Then the heroine became interested in why Catherine was trying to introduce her to the hero. The Count would not approve of the heroine, a commoner, as a wife for his son, and they had to meet in secret. Did she really think it would be better if the hero started life with a friend? What the hell was Catherine thinking? Continuing to look out the window, Kate tried to find a solution. But suddenly a voice came from behind the door. "My lady, Lord Hurt is here." The maid happily ran to the lord, but the main character stopped her friend. When the man entered the chambers, he asked what was going on. Was the girl really crying? And after asking what happened, she muttered that she didn't want to talk about it. And putting his arm around her shoulder, Hurt continued to ask why she was silent. Could it really be that something happened? The protagonist angrily asked if she had met Moore, maybe like before. In tears, she asked not to be pressured. After all, everyone has something they don't want to talk about. The man just let go of his hand and remained nervously silent. The heroine thought warmly, could he really be worried? And, blushing slightly, she asked why the hero had come. He looked at the main character silently. And then, holding out his hand, he said that it would be great to eat together, and that he would like to invite Kate to his home. And since the heroes will soon be living together, it wouldn't hurt to get to know the man's house. Getting up from the bed, the hero said that given Kate's condition, this was not an option. The main character clutched the sheet, realizing that he had clearly swallowed his pride. And she exclaimed, "Good. After all, how long can one grieve about the past?" The heroine had already lost 10 years, so it was time to move on, she thought. A foot in delicate winter boots stepped onto an iron step. It was Kate, looking straight ahead with a surprised expression on her face. In her thoughts, the mansion was not as big as the girl expected. The couple walked together and were greeted by a male voice. He continued that it was a great honor to meet the lady in person, and he introduced himself as Glenn, the butler of this house. The main character responded with a smile, but Terrius did not understand what this performance was about. The man asked not to smile with his eyes. When they entered the house, they were greeted by a friendly woman. She introduced herself as Sonia, and her back was practically breaking from cleaning up after the men of the Hurt house. Glenn immediately sat the main character down at the table. Kate looked at the dish and didn't feel sick at all, which was very strange. The woman explained that she had heard about toxicosis and therefore showed off her skills. She explained that they were from the northern continent and that they had a lot of soft food. And then the woman asked the butler to bring tea. And she also addressed the main character so that he wouldn't make a face at the solid grass on his plate. Kate grinned as he asked for a separate serving. It was clear that Terrius was barely forcing himself to eat it. Then the girl took a spoonful of soup. And having tried it, I was pleasantly surprised. After all, it turned out so delicious. And then the woman started talking about how sweet the future mistress of the Hurt house was. And the discussion continued with the question of what if the child looks like his father and not his mother. But Sonia said that the gentleman was also sweet in childhood. The main character covered his mouth with his hand in shame and asked him to stop talking nonsense. The servants wished them bon appetit and left. And the girl thought that for some reason. She has only pleasant and warm impressions of Sonia. She also reminds me a lot of my mother, even though they don't look alike at all. After all, my mother always said that she married the most beloved man in the world. And she was very happy to give birth to such a beautiful daughter. She wanted her daughter to be just as happy, but I'm sorry, Mom, Kate thought. After all, the heroine is already an adult, but has never experienced true love. Not to mention marrying your loved one. And to marry a freedom-loving and cold man. Kate looked at her reflection and didn't understand why she couldn't experience passionate love. Even Catherine and Unser are in such a sweet relationship, but she is not. And why are the heroine's emotions so unstable lately? When the man asked if everything was okay, she said that it wouldn't be. And jumping up, she shouted that she would not get married. He asked again with slight shock what she had said. The girl turned around and said that she felt too sorry for her life. At that moment, Tereus jumped up and shouted the heroine's name. Approaching rapidly, he ordered the heroine to sit down. And then his hand slipped into the inside pocket of his jacket. And he threw some document on the table. It was a marriage registration document of the Spartan Empire. The main character is stunned. She tore the paper and screamed that she wouldn't do it. But the man just exhaled and took out a bunch of new forms. He didn't understand why the girl was suddenly behaving like this. She proudly replied that she would marry someone else, and since she was also from a famous family, the demand was high. Tereus frowned and angrily asked for the other one. Grabbing the main character by the waist, he said that the heroine was carrying his child. And does she really dare to claim that she will marry another? What impudence! Kate thought it was all the damn chivalric code's fault. And so he thinks he has to take responsibility. Having pushed him away, the girl realized that he could not truly love. And she exclaimed that she was leaving and there was no need to follow her. And when the main character asked why she was behaving this way, Kate turned around and screamed that she didn't want a loveless marriage. After that, she quickly ran away. And the hero was left alone, completely bewildered. The next day, after the main character escaped from Hert's house, the girl sat at the tea party discussing that she was busy. Then she continued that she had met with a member of the Imperial Knights, Tereus Hert, and all the heroines' mouths dropped open. And it was heard that, in chorus, they all started admiring, "What are you talking about, that one? Oh my God." Kate closed her eyes and thought that she had no intention of calmly showing up to social events. But if the heroes, who had no connection, got married, gossip would be inevitable. Lady Everglot beamed and asked how they met. The main character said that everything happened through her older brother. And she doesn't even know if they will get married. Everything is just being done to preserve her father's reputation. And when the conversation turned to more, the other girls looked unhappy with Lady Everglot's question. Another heroine said that she was silent all the time, that this answer irritated her. And remember how he sent Kate an empty carriage, unfeeling. And suddenly the blonde girl asked what had happened at Count Grint's estate between the knights. She understood that this topic would come up sooner or later, and the words began to press. It was a love quarrel for your sake, really. The cup clinked. The main character said, "No, that's not true." And she herself doesn't really know. Deforge is a way to cover up a knight who broke the code. The ladies said in unison, "Oh, I see." And to change the subject, Kate asked where Lady Blanc was. The heroines explained that she was not feeling well. It seems Lady Grint hasn't heard the rumours yet, and at that moment, the red-haired lady whispered, "She is pregnant." The girl choked on her tea, screaming that. Lady Hindley recently saw the heroine, and the belly is already visible. And apparently she will have to give birth and raise the child alone. And she can't say who the father is. Probably Lady Blanc was abandoned. Everyone around started insulting the girl. One of the main characters didn't find it funny. Kate thought, this means she is pregnant and her father has run away. And how can this even seem funny? The conversations continued, well, how will she prove that the child is his? It's not a mistake to believe him, right? Kate jumped up and declared that they were too strict, and Lady Blanc was not like that. How dare they all discuss this instead of feeling sorry for it? And they should learn to distinguish between what can be said and what cannot. Discrimination based on status is a violation of noble virtues. And it seems the main character doesn't live up to the standards here either. They tried to stop her, but Kate quickly moved away. This is all because the girl does not feel that this problem is alien to her, and she simply couldn't contain her emotions. And anyway, if Hurt hadn't proposed, she could have been in the same spotlight of gossip. And the main character was already waiting downstairs. Noticing the lady, he looked at her warmly. She asked how he found her. Terius explained that he was at the estate, and they told him everything. The man reminded about yesterday, that she doesn't want a marriage without love. Kate calmly replied that this was true, and she did not want to be a spouse without love. After all, the heroine wants to experience love. The main character exhaled and apologized. Clearing his throat and blushing, he suggested trying to date. Kate froze in amazement. Yes, and what about that free love he talked about? What about those cold relationships? The man feels like he has been speaking warmly to her all the time and wants to get to know his future wife better. And nothing has changed. She couldn't say a word, just stared at him. The heroine said that she had drawn up the marriage clauses. He listened in silence. And then he shouted that he was a knight and would not have caused a scandal. He doesn't need her stressful marriage clauses or whatever, but she can't date anyone else either. Kate looked at him and thought, oh my God, he hates marriage, he hates children, and now the word love comes from the lips of the very same person who once suggested they just be partners. This is not the answer she was expecting. This was her very first boyfriend in her life, the heroine thought, blushing. The maid explained that Sir Hurt was the best man to rely on. She is worth trusting because the girl has an angelic sense. Suddenly, the main character looked down. There was a stack of letters on the table. The maid explained that Madame Merrill had asked her to select only those welcome letters from trading companies with which they would continue to work. As the new year approaches, trading companies send letters of gratitude, and they only respond to those with whom they will continue to do business. Before, my mother did all this, but after death it passed to Madame Merrill. When the lady offered to help, Emmy said she had no idea where they got their food from. Kate explained that she was just bored. These trading companies really do have a lot of character. Looking at the document, the heroine asked what kind of store it was. But even the maid had no idea whose company it was. It's probably just the company that my mother, who is still alive, worked with. Some people continue to write, thinking that she is still alive. After all, when she was alive, she was dependent on various medications. Her father insisted that she try every possible medicine, and Madame Merrill ordered rare herbs from everywhere. The main character realized that this meant they didn't need it, and the letter flew into a pile of other unnecessary letters. Answer Moore sat in the empty room, his head down, and in my memories I saw the exquisite shoes and a gentle kiss. She said that he should not be weak, and he is the only one who can break the lady, and she will give her heart only to the man Caitlin Grint. Moore repeated, to the man Caitlin Grint. With a languid look, Catherine continued that otherwise she would not have loved him. Nervously, Answer repeated, of course, that's how it should be. And this place belongs to him alone. And you should never have told Caitlin the truth in the tavern. He remembered all the warm moments with the lady, how she bought him gifts, and how she screamed that Answer promised to marry her. And the hero thought that a couple of sweet words would make her come back. What has changed at all? Could it really be the commander's fault? That day, the main character said to Moore, if he touches that girl again, Terius will cut off everything from him. And it wasn't just a knight who warned him to stop pestering the lady. Covering his face with his hands, he couldn't understand when these two had managed to do it. The bright sun was rising over the mansion. Catherine walked along the road. Suddenly a voice called out to her, look who's here. It was a smiling count. He was glad of her arrival. He suggested throwing a dinner in honor of Madame Merrill's return. To throw a banquet in honor of a maid may seem like kindness to others. But in fact, this man is trying to cover up the shame of his wife and daughter. The girl refused with a smile. Catherine clutched her sleeve nervously. It would be better if he did nothing at all than showed half-hearted affection, and no one would feel so sorry for themselves. And the heroine would not have felt such a desire for revenge. The shame she felt when she looked at Caitlin Grint, the honorary daughter, was the same shame her mother had once felt when she looked at the Earl and Countess. But the mother found her own way to overcome the sadness and shame, and now it's the daughter's turn. She decided to take revenge on the Count in her own way. She entered the room and smiling said, "Kate, it's you." The main character turned around in shock. The maid was also surprised. And then the girl said with disgust, "Oh, she's here." And she asked me to wait there. Then she turned to the maid and began to ask for advice about the decorations. And Catherine remained on the sidelines. She wasn't even asked. Usually, as soon as she wrote to her, the girl would already run out barefoot to meet her. As she approached, the girl said that she had come to talk about answer. Kate turned around and said that before that she also had something to say. And she approached her ex-friend, handing her a letter with a seal. She calmly replied that she was getting married. The heroine could not believe what she saw. How was this possible? She snatched the letter and screamed, "What does this mean?" Taking out the document, Catherine reread the lines, Terrius Hurt and Caitlin Grint. "He is burning with desire to get married as soon as possible. How could he refuse?" Kate said. Clutching the paper in her hands, she screamed, "No!" The main character covered her ear with her hand and asked why she was shouting. Catherine wondered why she hadn't told him earlier. The girl silently raised her head, and then she said coldly that she was saying this now, compared to Catherine, who remained silent until questioned. At least Kate speaks, albeit late. The heroine looked down in bewilderment, wondering what she was talking about. Of all these many secrets, what is the main character asking about? Well, you can't guess here. The sound of breaking dishes was heard and water spilled across the floor. The girl stood in confusion and someone called out to her. The heroine said in tears, "Mom," and she threw herself into the woman's arms, saying that she didn't know what to do next. Everything she prepared turned out to be useless, and she doesn't know what to do. There was a sound of a slap. Madam asked, "What do you mean you don't know?" Mum said that she felt sorry for herself, but she didn't feel sorry for her mother, who couldn't call him her husband. With wild eyes, she continued to say that she hated the woman who took her place. She said how unfair it was to be next to her father without having the right to call him that. "After all, my father is alive and well." In public, she is seen as a fatherless girl, and she said it was bitter. She squeezed her daughter's hair and said that Kate looked so much like him. Why then is there not a drop of similarity in it? After all, it was Catherine who was ruining her mother's life, and they agreed that she would pay for it. The woman silently stroked the top of her daughter's head, and she asked if she would do it for her mother's sake. The daughter, with madness in her eyes, answered that yes, she would. The empire was abuzz with rumours, and the first topic was answer more. The truth about the deforge that took place at the Grint estate remains unsolved. With rumours spreading rapidly, many people wondered about the reasons for the deforge. At this time, the news of the wedding of the century, which further excited the capital, spread everywhere. Through the chatty tongues of gossip lovers, absurd rumours were spread. The battle between Terrius Hurt and Answer Moore was over the Count's youngest daughter. Ordinary residents of the capital of the empire could not understand all this. Terrius became a dishonest boss, and Moore became unhappy. Ultimately, the main beneficiary of the rumours that began to be perceived as fact was Answer Moore. Everyone thought Answer Moore was a rude man, and if rumours had saved him from committing suicide, he should have stayed at home. And he didn't drag himself to the training ground, and he also dragged Catherine along. The knights began to discuss that she was truly a breathtaking beauty. Everyone thought that too little time had passed since his breakup with Lady Grint for him to have a new woman. Suddenly the brother raised his head up. The commander stood before him, asking what Lord Grint was doing. He explained that the training was over and he was going to return to the estate. The commander expected this, therefore. He handed over the box and asked me to give it to my sister. Taking out a small note, he explained, "What is this? Mont Blanc Castella, a new product from the chocolate bonbon bakery. Here it is." Kate asked me to buy this, but by the time Hurt finished training, it would be too late. Suddenly footsteps were heard. The girl exclaimed, "Brother Alex!" He asked if it was interesting to watch. Katie answered yes. And then my brother pointed to a man. "This is our commander and Kate's fiancé." She straightened her hair and said that she had wanted to meet for a long time. And with a charming smile, she asked me to give her a little time. She introduced herself as Catherine Bennington and said that she and Kate had been best friends since childhood. The hero said with a smile, Oh, his wife's friend. He introduced himself as Terrius Hurt and told Miss Bennington that he was pleased to meet her. She suggested having some tea. She said that nothing special happened, it was just that Kate was like her soulmate. And Catherine wants to know how good a person her lover is. The heroine had never been to the palace, and if it weren't for her brother Answer, she wouldn't even have dreamed of getting there. No one cared as much as brother Unser, and everyone knew how much Kate loved him. She said it was impolite to say such a thing and apologized, adding that she hadn't thought about it. When she went to get wedding invitations, she felt like Kate loved him very much. It was the first time I saw her smile like that and talk about someone other than brother Answer. Terrius understood that, in fact, even the heroine did not treat him as a lover. He asked with a smile how he and Kate became friends. Catherine explained that her mother had been serving at the Grint County estate for 20 years. The Count and Countess, brother Alex and Kate, treated her well. He thought that she was talking to the maid as if she were a friend. She didn't look like a typical earl's daughter at all, Hurt thought warmly. Brother Unser once saved Kate's life, the girl suddenly continued, and she is also grateful for her friend's life. He noticed that Miss Bennington grew up with Kate almost like sisters. The main character tried to keep a straight face. One day, brother Unser invited them both to a country house in Moore County. The man was surprised at how tactless this friend was. Moore County had many country houses in different locations. The hero interrupted Catherine, asking her to change the subject. She said it just hadn't occurred to her, and added that she had too many memories. She had a separate request for Sir Hurt. She heard there was a deforge at the Grint County estate. She asked for leniency, explaining that it was not only her wish but also Kate's. The man asked her if she was sure that Kate really wanted this. The heroine replied that she knew Kate much better than anyone else. I'm not sure if Kate wants leniency for Lord Moore. She didn't know when they separated, but since they were so close, anything could happen. She said that what happened between brother Answer and Kate should not be elevated to questions of chivalry. The commander asked if she knew exactly how Answer Moore had violated the Chevalier Code. The girl apologized, said that she was very worried, and admitted that she still decided to ask brother Answer. The man said that if he wanted to blab about his misdeeds, he couldn't stop him. But she knew what had happened, and she still continued to defend the bastard. Either she was just a tactless friend, or she had the intention of causing a quarrel between him and Caitlin. After listening further, it is clear that it is the second. The heroine asked what Terrius meant after his question about whether she valued her friend. He explained that Kate often turns everything upside down. Perhaps he is too hasty in judging, but you can't keep such friends close, even if it's nice. Catherine said sullenly that the things being said now were very offensive. But the commander, jumping up from his seat, shouted that he should keep his friend nearby, who was asking for mercy for the man who insulted her. It was the stupidest thing Kate ever did. The room shone with warmth and luxury. The door swung open with a loud bang, and moonlight burst into the room. The foot hit the floor with force, and the movement cut through the air. The butler asked, "Sir, are you back?" He continued to say with a grin that there was an incredible gift in the room, but the main character angrily told him not to blab. Terrius thought furiously about how it was possible to love such a guy for 10 years. He tried to suppress his jealousy, but nothing worked. And so he quickly began to take off his shirt. In front of the mirror, he wondered why she had mistaken him for Answer Moore that night. If she didn't remember anything at all, it would still be bearable. Clutching his shirt, Hurt thought that if he had known how things would turn out, he would have held onto it by force. And then he said, how childish." At that moment, the look softened and filled with surprise. The main character saw Kate sitting on the sofa. There was shock in her eyes. But then she greeted Terry, and she pointed her finger at the cake, saying how could she just hand it over and not show up? The man approached his lover and said that she scared him. And stroking her, he said that he had just been thinking about her. Covering her face with her hands, the heroine asked him to get dressed. And the main character suddenly asked why she was so shy. And darling can watch as much as she wants. Kate thought the body was too good to ignore. Pumped up and full of scars, she touched one of them and asked if it probably hurt. Terius explained that he didn't feel any pain now, and that with her touch, it became even easier. Stab wounds, pierced, these thoughts did not give her peace. To rise from a commoner to the current position, how much he had to endure. And then she saw the scar on his shoulder and asked about it. Lying on the bed, Kate thought that Terry really was a strange man. He even manages to ruin the warm atmosphere. Touching the scar on his shoulder, she asked that it must be really painful. How could he endure this? At this moment, the main character got angry, and there were shouts about what a stupid woman she was. After that, they had a big fight and didn't see each other for 2 days. Suddenly, a female voice was heard asking if it was possible to come in. Madame Merrill appeared on the threshold with a tray in her hands and brought food instead of Amy. She always filled the void in her mother's life, and the main character is very happy to see her. The main character asked how the vacation was. The woman replied that it was great, and the water there was very clear. Our miss loves to splash in the water, so she remembered Kate. She stroked the girl's hands and asked, "What I heard is that they had a fight with Catherine." She looked away and said that they probably didn't quarrel. The lady continued, saying that she had told her to apologize for everything, and she had gotten angry in response. The heroine said that she didn't particularly want to see Catherine right now. Honestly, it feels like such a strong betrayal that it's hard to believe that forgiveness will be possible. The woman explained that she did not say this in order to force them to reconcile. And touching her face, she said that from stress, her sweet face had become half its size. They hugged, and the main character smelled her mother's perfume. The lady began using them to comfort the girl who was crying for her mother. She asked the miss to tell everything as soon as she calmed down. And after the answer that the girl would tell, she smiled. Memories surfaced, quiet and poignant, of how she learned Kate was pregnant. The Count wanted to announce this after the wedding, so it's best to keep your mouth shut. Miss hid her pregnancy until the very end, the doctor said. And then he handed over a piece of paper on which were written down ingredients and spices that should not be added to food. The woman told him not to worry. He stated that the Count wanted to transfer the management of the estate to his daughter, but she suddenly became pregnant. He wondered what to do. The estate needed a mistress. She sternly said that she had dedicated half her life to serving the estate, and the Count trusted her. The man was surprised and explained that he didn't mean to say anything like that, and that they didn't trust her. And, wiping the sweat from his face, he apologized. The woman said she meant that there was no need to rush Mrs. departure. As for the new mistress, it depends only on the master's will, the madam said with a grin. They discussed how, in their eyes, Kate was still a baby. Suddenly, Madame quickly ran to the kitchen because she needed to prepare her mistress's favorite dishes. She said that the care of the miss should be entrusted to the proper madam. And Madame is now so happy that she is ready to take off. A woman's words were heard under the sound of the knife, that she should urgently leave for the city. She asked Emmy to be attentive because she was entrusting the kitchen to her. The maid was pleased to think that for the first time such an important matter had been entrusted to her, and she needs to be careful about prohibited ingredients. The heroine pointed at them and ordered them to read that under no circumstances should they add anything. Without further ado, everyone must hurry because Sir Hurt is arriving today. The sound of scraping dishes was heard in the hall. There was already a couple sitting at the table. The maid said that the master would arrive soon and it was worth waiting, moving the soup closer to the main character. They sat silently at the table, Kate realizing that she had decided not to start a conversation first. Damn, this is so awkward. And when he began to speak, the girl was delighted. But suddenly he coldly asked if she was going to marry Answer Moore. For the main character, it's like a stone on the head. It's strange, because she certainly never clung to the Lord. Where did he even get that idea from? Terius exhaled nervously and continued, asking if she remembered the day of her rescue and the promise of marriage. The girl nervously explained that she said this, but they were interrupted by their father, who was a little late due to business. He sat down at the table and asked them to continue the conversation. The man began by saying that he had heard about a disaster that had happened 10 years ago. The heroine became nervous because she couldn't say such things in front of her father. He screamed that he was still in a cold sweat just from the memories. After all, this daredevil, despite the unsettled situation, she managed to persuade the nanny to go out for a walk but ended up disappearing. His mother fell ill from worry and he rushed about searching. And that's not all. The daughter was kidnapped by escaped prisoners, but fortunately there were connections with His Majesty. This was when Alex joined the 5th Knightly Order. And Ansa also worked hard at that moment. Tereus responded angrily, "That's how." As she dipped her spoon into the soup, the girl thought that Terry would be calm about such things. And it's a bit of a shame that the heroine couldn't be honest about Ansa. After trying the soup, she didn't like the taste, but Sonia's food was completely different. And I thought, maybe I could ask Hurt if I could go to Sonia for food. Maybe he suddenly became angry then because he heard about the wedding with Ansa. Smiling, Kate realized he was jealous. And then, raising her leg, she approached her future husband. His eyes widened in surprise and he blushed slightly, while the girl, with the tip of her heel, played with his shin. He sat silently, hiding his face from his father. It was noticeable that he was blushing even more. And how happy and unhappy he is at the same time. The main character just grinned. Kate said that because of the rescue, she had a little crush on Unza. But now she likes Terry the most. He is so caring and always thinks about his beloved. They may quarrel often, but it's even fun. And smiling, she continued that Tereus is the best man. The father was overcome with emotion and was covered in tears. The man leaned a little closer to his beloved, sitting on the bed. Interesting situation. They had dinner in the mansion. And then we went to Hurt's house for dessert from Sonia. And in the room, the couple began talking first about Kate's mother, and then about Terry's story of how he became a knight. And the atmosphere between them changed dramatically. He began to creep up on the girl's hand, and then he gently stroked Kate's cheek. And he kissed her tenderly. She didn't mind at all and responded to the kiss. After that, Terry said, "Damn, Kate." Stroking her hand, he continued that he wanted to hug. She thought with a grin how stupid he was, because in such an atmosphere there was no point in asking permission. Suddenly, the girl was pierced by severe pain. She, with Ikaya, asked to wait and got out of bed. Heading towards the exit, she said that she was going to the restroom for a minute. And the hero was worried that he might have gone too far. And then he noticed something strange. And he asked the girl to stop, after all. After all, her shoe is underneath. Before the man could finish speaking, the heroine lowered her gaze. Holding her stomach, she saw a pool of blood underneath her. For a moment, everything froze. She said in fear that her stomach hurt. And at the same second she began to fall, Tereus rushed towards her. After some time, the carriage door swung open, and then the door of the room, and a doctor appeared on the threshold. It was obvious that he was in a hurry to get here. Running into the room, he saw drops of blood on the floor, and the main character was lying on the bed. She was unconscious. It was already night. The Grint estate was shining with light. The father, sitting at the table, asked with concern how his daughter was feeling. Sir Fernando explained that there are substances in Fraxia that weaken the placenta. Therefore, for pregnant women, it is a real poison. And in the south, it is specially eaten raw to get rid of the child. But initially, there is nothing that could kill the child without harming the mother's body. The gentleman jumped up screaming, which meant something was wrong with Kate. The doctor stopped him, reassuring him that there was bleeding, but the fetus seemed to be fine. They don't understand why everything turned out this way. Emmy was already standing in the office, being questioned about what had happened. The girl, screaming and crying, proved that she had forbidden everyone to touch the Fraxia. But the father angrily asked how she got there if no one touched her. Madame Merrill burst into the room. Falling to her knees, she argued that it was her fault, and that Amy, who had no experience, could not be trusted to cook. And Madame didn't think at all that this could happen. The gentleman looked sideways. Pointing his finger at the maid, he ordered her to be thrown out immediately. She begged on her knees to believe, because she never would. And for the sake of Kate's feelings, he kept Emmy alive. The woman tried to stop the gentleman, arguing that it was only her fault. But the man said that he was disappointed in her too, so he would decide her fate later. The door slammed behind him. Madame Merrill turned to the maid. The doctor said that it was worth observing further, but fortunately the miss ate only a little. Suddenly, Sir Fernando's eyes widened. He saw the woman yelling at Emmy because suddenly something would happen to the lady. And if something happens to Miss, she won't leave here alive. The doctor tried to console the madam, but she burst into tears. Since childhood, the main character could not stand the sight of blood, and all she remembers is the knight who bled to death saving her. The knight asked her not to cry because bad people were still around. But the girl continued to cry, repeating that she wanted to go home. And what if we meet bad people again? But he assured her that this would not happen, and she really didn't want the knight to die. That's why I shouted at him, "Don't die." He only stroked the girl's head and assured her that he would not die. Even through the pain, he gently stroked Kate's head, chuckling. The voice that promised that it would wait for these warm embraces. That voice was tirelessly comforting. But when she tries to imagine his face again, why does his face suddenly disappear somewhere far away? And she definitely knows this knight, the girl thought, waking up. In the clouded gaze, she recognized the knight. And when everything became clear, it turned out that it was Terry in front of her. He was worried and asked if everything was okay and if nothing hurt. And having said no, she suddenly burst into tears. The man hugged her and said that everything was okay. Terrius never tired of repeating that everything was fine. But she, looking down, repeated, "What if?" Suddenly their baby disappeared because her stomach hurt so much. He whispered in her ear that everything was okay with her and the baby. As if by magic, the voice of her lover made it so that everything really was all right. Kissing his beloved's head, he thanked her for surviving. It was like a miracle, such a warm embrace. On that day, every house in the capital was closed. The reason for this was the escaped prisoners, who were causing chaos in the streets. The capture and transportation of prisoners was also Hert's responsibility. So when he heard that a noble lady had been kidnapped, things only got worse. It was all a coincidence to find an enemy commander who had once defeated him on the battlefield. And find Kate. The hostage remains unharmed. That is the order. He takes the commander. They deal with his people. And then the knights ran in shouting, "Don't move!" The prisoners were surprised. Wow, how did the Imperial Knights get here? And so the commander and Terrius crossed swords. But suddenly he ran away. Terry was surprised. A cry was heard. There is no point in overexerting yourself when you can take the easy way out. The man gritted his teeth, thinking what a bastard he was. And then he grabbed the girl, managing to save her from the sword. She cried and asked to be left. "Look how the great commander of the Imperial Knights froze because of the girl," the prisoner laughed, not hiding his pleasure. "This is what the Chevalier Harricon is worth," said the main character. The commander pounced with his sword and shouted, "You're still talking, even though you almost died." Terry was barely coping. After all, the speed was very high. And, pointing his sword at the hero, the criminal shouted, "It's all over!" And the sword pierced the knight's shoulder. Everything froze for a moment. A drop of blood flashed before the little girl's eyes. She looked up and repeated, "Sir Knight, no." He consoled her, repeating that he would not die. Suddenly screams were heard from the first floor, and one of the knights entered their room. He pierced the commander's heart from behind. More prisoners were approaching them, and the knight had to take the prisoner and run away faster. The protagonist would have preferred to die with his comrades, but understanding the little girl's fear, he picked her up and ran. Barely able to stand on his feet, he found a place to hide. And then he asked me to close my eyes and count to 100. With fear in her eyes, the girl asked not to die. "Please don't die," she repeated. It was the first time someone had said something like that to the main character, and even more so, how she screamed that she would marry him in the future. To die with honor, he had heard this many times, but here he was asked not to die. Even with his mind clouded, he remembers smiling over and over again. It seemed to him that just the sight of her was enough to make him smile all day long. Terrius kept his eyes open just to survive. Suddenly, 2 knights noticed them. They helped Terry up, and he asked them to take the girl. So 7 years passed, and he was asked if he had met a girl. He was advised to at least try, since there were rumors that the commander had problems in his intimate life. There is something else about Count Moore's heir. That cute blonde guy, he's crazy about his love, so he keeps quiet, not using his looks. People say that Lady Grint and Unsa have been together for quite some time. The main character had never looked for a lady, but upon hearing the name of that very girl, he was dumbfounded because he thought that he had long forgotten about her. Being beaten by endless training, he had no time to think. Then suddenly he remembered the childhood promise he had made 7 years ago, and he laughed. Then, another year passed, the commander was leading Alex's drunken brother out of the tavern, as something caught his attention. 8 years later, it flashed through my mind. He saw familiar facial features, and especially blue hair. At first, the hero did not even recognize that very girl. But the moment I saw it, my heart sped up. The main character's mouth opened wide in surprise. She ran up to them, screaming how her brother could have gotten so drunk he passed out. The main character apologized for such a nuisance and was ready to take her brother, but the commander replied that he would carry him himself. This aura, this easy smile, and this beautiful manner of speech. After he saw the girl, he suffered from fever every night. I remembered her face, her voice, gestures, body movements. Every memory made the heart burn. And there was nothing between them. Terry was shocked at himself. He concluded that there was no logical cause for the late fever, not because he once saved her or because she is charming. He was simply destined to love Kate. Regardless of the time of their meeting, the protagonist would still inevitably fall in love. Holding the mug in her hands, the girl said, "Ugh, it's not tasty." Terrier said it wasn't tasty, but drink it, because Sir Fernando spent the whole night preparing it. Stroking his beloved's palm, he said that fortunately, things wouldn't get any worse. The doctor said he was very worried, but the baby was holding on tight. He hasn't even been born yet, but he's already such a fine fellow. The main character grabbed her stomach. The main character smiled, saying that he told us that everything would be fine. And Kate chuckled, saying that the baby apparently took after his dad since he was so stupidly strong. And then the girl extended her hand and said, "Now come here." And, lightly touching her lover's face, she gently ran her hand over it, kissing him on the lips. He was surprised, and the heroine asked why the man was panicking so much, since they were married. At this point, the doctor coughed to attract attention. He stood up abruptly and said that it was time for him to return to the office, and that Kate should definitely drink the infusion. The girl then asked to call Emmy. Sir turned nervously and said, "Oh, miss," because, as far as Emmy is concerned, after the story, the main character quickly left her room. She burst into her father's office shouting, "Dad!" The heroine, dissatisfied, asked for Emmy to be returned to her. The father asked gloomily if she had come only for these words. They started arguing that it couldn't have been an accident and the girl should forget about it. And to add that Sir Fernando forbade it, how can this be called an accident? The heroine argued that this was absurd. The maid would gain nothing by feeding her mistress something harmful. The man angrily declared that he did not want to see Emmy's face because he found it disgusting. Getting up from the table, he asked his daughter to leave. She gritted her teeth and screamed, "But Dad!" The man knows how dear Emmy is to her. Turning away, the Count said that when she had her own child, she would finally understand what a man was feeling now. And now she should go. Tears appeared in the main character's eyes. Kate insisted that the girl was definitely not like that. The man stroked his beloved and said that he was also on the Count's side, since the maid aroused suspicion. Adding such a prohibited ingredient can only be regarded as intentional, and the only one who knew about the pregnancy that day was her. The main character assured that she trusts people too easily and that this is bad. If you blindly trust everyone, you can get into trouble. Suddenly, Kate said she would prove it. And by any means possible, he will find out that Emmy is not guilty. There was a knock on the door and a question asking if Jane was there. The maid opened the door and a couple stood on the threshold. She said nervously, "Miss and Sir Hurt." The main character started by saying that she heard that Jane was with Emmy that day. The girl explained that she did not understand why her sister was kicked out of the mansion. After all, when they were preparing food, she was next to Emmy from beginning to end, and she didn't touch the fraxia. The heroine asked if she had seen who had added the fraxia. Jane said, "I'm sorry that no one touched this ingredient. Everyone was very attentive to the note." And then the heroine said that she was embarrassed to talk about it, but "I'll have some soup," Madame Merrill suggested, making it the main dish. Kate froze in shock. Madame Merrill said she had a meeting with suppliers, so she only prepared the basic ingredients and left in the morning. Typically, for pitanya soup, potatoes and corn are placed on the bottom. Then the remaining ingredients are added, and coarsely chopped cabbage is placed on top. And the woman prepared everything herself and left, and Sister Emmy only added the broth. Then she got there when Madame Merrill was cooking. The girl did not go near the shelf with spices the whole time. Terrius's eyes widened, just like Kate's eyes. The main character jumped up, asking how they hadn't noticed the fraxia. Jane explained that they had fraxia in powder form in their kitchen. If you deliberately put it on the bottom, you won't find it without a deliberate search. You add broth, cook, and it dissolves immediately. As far as I can tell, only Madam could have added the fraxia. Kate thought about it. She didn't want to believe it. But if the testimony is true, then there is only one person who could have added the thraxia. This is Madame Merrill. And what's more, as luck would have it, she entrusted this to Emmy, who knew about the pregnancy. And that was also intentional, to harm her and the child, and then put the blame on Emmy. But why? What did Kate do? Merrill, how the main character trusted her, followed her. Why, at this very moment, does she remember Catherine? Perhaps there is some reason for the obvious anger between the mother and daughter towards her. There was a whisper in the house. "Kate, what are you doing here?" Catherine felt like the heroine was angry with her. She was going to wait until she was ready to talk about it, but she prefers to pretend that nothing happened. And now Kate asked directly why the girl had been lying all the time, when Answer Moore and I were fooling her. She tried to apologize, but the heroine explained that she was not there for an apology. She wonders what she did to deserve such hatred. And what did she do wrong anyway? And if Catherine really considered her her friend, she would have told her everything long ago. But instead, what did she do? The girl said that Kate had misunderstood everything. Even Unsa thought that the heroine was the only one. She slammed the table and declared that she had no intention of listening to excuses. Catherine should do herself a favor and not mention that idiot. The heroine screamed. How could Kate say such a thing about her childhood friend? At that moment, a sharp slap was heard. Catherine clutched her cheek and looked at the main character in surprise. And she hit him again, only on the other cheek. It hurts to suffer while being the one he loves. It's unfair, don't you think? Or she was jealous, even if she was the only one who received his love. She is simply ashamed of her actions, so she suddenly arouses envy. At that moment, Catherine said she wasn't going to be ashamed. She never envied her, she only felt pity, even disgust. The high-born nobility, this is a joke, asked if she understood what a noble man her father really was. She remained as naive as always. It's unclear how she had unconditionally trusted this man all these years. He cared for a woman he didn't even know, allowed her daughter to play on equal terms with his noble daughter. It all seems a little strange. She laughed, said that it was not just an obligation, not charity, called it funny. Every time she looked at her, she felt only pity, so she wanted her to experience the same at least once. No one expected that sweet little Kate, who only saw Unsa Moore, would go so far as to hide with another man. It's all over. The main character screamed, demanding an explanation, her voice trembling. She asks why it should come from her, and she whispered that they were much closer than she thought. And then I remembered the words that her father knows everything, knows who she is, knows what her mother went through. If she could, she would want revenge. The heroine covered her mouth with her hand. No, it can't be. She said, "Kate, our father is a very cruel man." Her to state. She asked me to tell the gentleman that she had arrived. The door slammed behind her. Kate sat there confused. She can't bring herself to see her father, and she wants to believe that he is not that kind of person. After all, Dad is too soft-hearted. Madame Merrill had to serve another family, and Catherine saw it all. But still, what did Kate herself do wrong? Where did she go wrong? After all, she always took care of both of them. What can be called trust anyway? Someone touched the door handle. Terrius appeared on the threshold and immediately ran to his wife. He was glad that the heroine came. But suddenly he noticed that the girl was crying. Terry asked worriedly what had happened, and sitting down on one knee next to her, he continued asking. And the main character only had enough strength to pronounce his name. And hiccuping, she hugged her husband. She said that living in a world where you don't trust anyone is too sad. And how does he think Terry could become the only person she trusts? Someone she won't have to doubt. The man said that he couldn't convince her with beautiful words. He will prove it with his actions, and will remain with his beloved forever.